The date showed September 4th, 2025. Washington, D.C. The world's most expensive dinner was served in the Rose Garden of the White House. The combined net worth of the 33 names at the table equaled 6 months of the U.S. 2025 budget. Their total wealth exceeded $2 trillion. This wasn't an ordinary meal. It was the first preparation for a war that would shape the world's economic and political future. At the table sat names like Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Apple CEO Tim Cook, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. America's global tech giants had perhaps come to pay homage in the presence of President Donald Trump. But there was one person missing from the table, and his absence was immediately noticeable, because he was the world's richest man, Elon Musk. If he had been there, he would have been the undisputed number one at the table, but he wasn't. 6 months ago, the man who was on the throne was now an exiled king. Just 6 months earlier, Elon Musk was virtually the invisible president of America. He had a significant role in Donald Trump's victory. He had his own room in the White House. He was Trump's close advisor on government spending cuts. The victory intoxication passed quickly. By this time, he had added political power to his economic strength. Unlimited power perhaps was changing Musk, or Trump was uncomfortable with having such a powerful second figure beside him. It was June 2025. Donald Trump was demanding a $5 trillion spending package. The objection came from where he least expected it. Musk was saying no to President Trump for the first time, and from that moment on, the Cold War had begun. Wall Street analyst Dan Ives described the situation. Shareholders are in panic. The Trump experience was a dark period for Tesla. Musk's every political move hits the stock. Investors are now asking, what is this man doing? Musk's politics had an adverse effect on Tesla's stock value. The Musk-Trump partnership in the first half of 2025 was the administration's most serious power. He was even nicknamed First Buddy. While Musk took an active role in budget optimization projects, he frequently appeared before the press at the White House. The One Big Beautiful Bill controversy began in June and brought two important forces face to face. One political, the other commercial. Elon Musk called Trump's signed $5 trillion tax cut and spending package disgusting filth and claimed it would take the country's national debt to unprecedented levels in history. This criticism wasn't just a political disagreement, it was a principled stance by Musk based on fiscal conservative principles. Silent supporters in Silicon Valley approved of Musk's stance in private closed meetings. Small tech companies' concern was that large spending packages would increase inflation, and they were worried about the increasing regulatory power of bureaucracy. However, this silent support wasn't translating into appearing before cameras because most of Silicon Valley's big players benefit from government subsidies and tax advantages. Musk's fiscal tightening rhetoric could actually run counter to the sector's own interests. But they remained silent because their business relationships with the Trump administration had muted their voices. Musk's objection wasn't a simple objection and had a big plan behind it. He wasn't just pursuing a stock strategy and would rewrite history. 33 tech giants were at the table. The list included Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Apple CEO Tim Cook, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, and many other names. These names form the backbone of the American technology industry, and their total market values amount to trillions of dollars. More than those at the table, Elon Musk, who wasn't at this power table, had once again become the topic of discussion. According to information obtained from backstage sources, Musk's name wasn't on the list even during the dinner's preparation phase. However, at the last minute, he was invited by a strategic decision of the White House. The White House administration's last-minute invitation was interpreted as an indication that they didn't want to completely burn bridges with Musk. Regarding the invitation, Musk said, "I was invited, but unfortunately I can't attend. I'll send a representative there." To understand the political calculations behind this sentence, it was necessary to look at what had happened in the last 6 months. Musk hadn't just rejected a dinner, he had also rejected the system. In Washington, D.C., this meant a declaration of war. According to Georgetown University professor Sarah Mitchell, this was a diplomatic bomb. "I'll send a representative" carries a very special meaning in Washington. Neither complete break nor submission. Musk was playing his own game. On the day the White House dinner took place, the tension reached a new dimension. Musk's statement, "I'll send a representative," carries a very special meaning in Washington political protocol. While it couldn't be called a complete break, it was evaluated as a distant approach. Using diplomatic language, he showed that he was neither completely severing relations nor submitting. Trump's anger was cold but calculated. Donald Trump had said about Musk, "Elon is 80% super genius but 20% problematic. When he fixes that 20%, he'll be great. I loved him. I still love him." This couldn't be called praise. It was a message sent to a former ally, and the message was clear: you're either with me or nowhere. In Trump's words, there was both respect for Musk and concerns about him. According to Trump, Musk had no choice. He has no choice. Is he going to go to the radical left lunatics? They're crazy. He has no choice. He's a sensible man, a good man, he said. In Trump's words, there was an attempt to corner Musk. Meanwhile, another name entered the scene: Vice President J.D. Vance. His role in this process was noteworthy. Vance, in his interview with Gateway Pundit last month, had described the relationship between Elon Musk and the White House as complex. However, he also stated that he hoped Musk would support the Republican Party until the November 2026 midterm elections. The backstage in Washington was talking about a phone conversation. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles had called Vance in June, and they had a phone conversation about Musk. It was claimed that Vance was trying to soften the relationship between Musk and Trump. There was another bomb in the backstage. It was said that Trump and Musk had a brief phone conversation. Behind this statement was the bipolar structure of the American political system and Musk's limited options within the system. Vance, saying that there was no possibility of Musk switching to the Democrats, was implying that he would eventually have to make peace with the Republicans. What Vance calculated was political reality, but Musk turned the plans upside down. For Elon Musk, the attempt to establish a third party was a way to escape this coercion of the two-party system. Trump wasn't expecting it. Musk had a third option: the America Party. Musk was adapting an ancient strategy to 21st century politics. Just as Epaminondas' small Theban army defeated mighty Sparta in the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BC. How? By using extremely concentrated force at a specific point. Musk's decision not to attend the White House dinner wasn't just a reflection of the tension between him and Trump, but also the beginning of establishing a new balance of power in American politics. At the center of this strategy was the America Party project. The party that Musk announced in July 2025 was a challenge to the traditional two-party system. The party's goals were specific and calculated. In the first stage, it focused on 2-3 Senate seats and 8-10 House districts, enough to shake the balances. It wasn't a randomly chosen target. In the current balances in Congress, even such a small group's votes could be decisive. Musk would use extremely concentrated force at a specific point on the battlefield, just like Epaminondas' strategy in the Battle of Leuctra. Analyses for the 2028 presidential election were predicting the results of Musk's strategic calculations. If the America Party won a few seats in 2026, it could go into 2028 in a very strong position. Musk was targeting 2028, starting from 2026, but there was also the J.D. Vance factor that needed to be taken into account. If Vance became a presidential candidate in 2028, the personal relationship between him and Musk could play a critical role. Perhaps this connection was laying the groundwork for potential cooperation in 2028. The Forward Party, founded by 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang in 2021, gave its first support. Elon can immediately validate a third-party effort. "This changes the rules of the game. We're ready," he said. Yang, they're in learning mode right now, stating that they could cooperate with Musk's team on finding candidates. The No Labels organization was also interested in Musk's attempt to establish a new governing coalition. This group, which considered running an independent presidential candidate in 2024, supported the idea of playing a balancing role in Congress. Nancy Jacobson, No Labels CEO, said, "Americans are tired of the partisanship in Washington. Musk's approach could appeal to this frustration." Trump's heir, J.D. Vance, was likely to be the 2028 candidate, and Musk's friend from the PayPal days also had a different influence on the political scene. In his interview with Gateway Pundit, Vance stated that he hadn't discussed 2028 with Musk or any donor, but different voices were coming from backstage sources. According to the backstage, J.D. and Elon were constantly talking through unofficial channels. They had an agreement for 2028. Musk's plan seriously worried Republican senators. Senator Ron Johnson said, "If he wants to split the party, this would be a good way to do it. Actually, we have some people who are concerned about the obvious." Johnson's concern was justified. Third-party movements in US history had done more damage to the party they split from. However, Musk's situation was different because his strategy was regional. The $288 million Musk spent in 2024. The fact that America PAC was still active and had about $250 million in spending power made this threat concrete. Retired Senator from North Carolina, Tom Tillis's words, "Money is an important factor." Elon Musk has the ability to finance campaigns, reflected this concern, and even Tillis's own seat was considered competitive in 2026. This could also change as a result of the presence of a third-party candidate. Republicans were rightfully afraid. While Republicans were worried, Democrats were trying to turn the situation into an opportunity. An official from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee openly said, "Elon splitting Republican votes is an advantage for us." According to Democratic Party strategists, Musk's America Party could attract voters who were fiscally conservative, but more liberal on social issues. This target audience consisted of highly educated voters living in suburban areas, working in the technology sector. In the 2020-24 elections, some of these voters had shifted to Democrats, but were showing a tendency to return due to economic concerns. For these voters, the America Party could offer a third option. Concerns about Musk's political activities began to increase among SpaceX employees. Because the company was largely dependent on NASA and Department of Defense contracts. The tension with the Trump administration could open bad results. Musk's political uncertainty could create risks in renewing these multi-billion-dollar contracts. In the international media, this situation was evaluated from different perspectives. The Financial Times wrote, "The political uncertainty of the American technology giant is affecting its position in global markets." However, Musk's personal popularity could be one of the biggest obstacles to these plans. Musk's interference in Wisconsin Supreme Court elections had backfired when the Liberal candidate won, despite his conservative support. According to YouGov's July poll, while 45% of Americans think a viable third party is necessary, only 11% say they would support Musk's party. According to Echelon Insight's poll, Musk's situation was even worse. He could only get 4.95% of the vote, and these votes would come almost entirely from Republicans. Musk's controversial posts on Twitter and news about his personal life have created a trust problem, especially among female voters. This situation is one of the biggest obstacles to the America Party reaching broad masses. This showed the party's technocrat character and that it appealed to educated voters. The regions where the America Party could be strongest were the Sun Belt states: Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia. The suburban areas in these states housed both technology sector workers and fiscal conservatives. In Wisconsin Supreme Court elections, Musk had supported the conservative candidate, but the expected didn't happen. The Liberal candidate won. These events had shown that Musk's political influence couldn't always be positive. It had been perceived as outside interference. Overcoming America's political system wouldn't be easy. The challenges Musk faced were too big to be underestimated, because every state had different rules for getting on the ballot. And these were extremely challenging. America's 160-year-old two-party system protected itself with thousands of judges, millions of lawyers, and billion-dollar collaborations. The 2026 elections were the stage for the final reckoning. The politicians targeted by Elon Musk were also beginning to become clear. The threat to support primary challenges against all Republican Congress members who voted for the One Big Beautiful Bill might not remain just empty talk. The promise of support to anti-Trump Republicans like Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie was also part of this strategy. Musk's America Party has the potential to split Republican votes during periods when Trump's popularity is low or with the effect of economic crisis. This situation could naturally lead Democrats to victory. What is feared is this: Musk's America Party splitting Republican votes, thereby providing an advantage to the Democratic Party. And it is known that even the splitting of votes in a few critical regions can change control in Congress. In recent history, in 2021, former President Biden had excluded Musk. President Biden's failure to invite Tesla to the electric vehicle summit had deeply affected Musk. While Biden described General Motors as leading the electric vehicle revolution, he had ignored Tesla. Biden's words, "General Motors is leading the electric revolution," had caused Musk to constantly bring up the issue. On the day of Trump's dinner invitation, he reposted an interview from 2023. The message of this post was clear: "I don't start fights, but I finish them." Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's statements reflected new concerns. Bessent commented, "Doge's principles were popular, but if you look at the polls, Elon wasn't popular. I imagine boards didn't like this statement yesterday and will encourage him to focus on business activities rather than political activities." The scenario in Musk's mind was very different. Winning over dissatisfied voters from both parties was Musk's plan, and he was hopeful. Although he claimed to represent the 80% majority in the center, this number was based on a poll on the X platform. Could one man bring down a 160-year-old system? Musk's strategy also had smart sides. By focusing on a few legislative races, he could reach his initial goal. For now, the America Party's presidential candidate is a distant possibility, but it's known that his calculations aren't short-term. European media evaluated Musk's movement differently. Le Monde noted that after European political intervention, the American billionaire now pursued system change domestically. Financial Times emphasized how CEO political uncertainty affected company global strategy. Chinese tech companies tried turning Tesla's political problems into opportunities. BYD launched aggressive European campaigns targeting Tesla's lost market shares. EU regulators closely monitored the situation, investigating X platform under Digital Services Act provisions. Tesla's trillion-dollar salary package proposal was interpreted as attempting to refocus Musk on business rather than politics. JP Morgan analyst Ryan Brinkman noted Musk's political uncertainty increased Tesla's corporate governance risk, while potentially helping the company gain independent identity. September 4, 2025's empty chair was just a beginning. Musk neither surrendered to Trump nor completely rejected the system. Perhaps these days he's looking for a third way, to be a balancing power in Congress in 2026 and to be an agent of fundamental change in the system in 2028. Old ties of the PayPal, secret alliance with Vance, $350 billion fortune, still $250 million in America, PAC. Technology empire. Musk faced a 160-year-old system and two-party state. Wall Street, Pentagon, Harvard, Yale. Overcoming thousands of lobbyists, millions of bureaucrats, and trillions of dollars in interest networks wouldn't be easy. Another detail that attracted attention at Trump's dinner was the presence of Jared Isaacman. Shift4 founder Isaacman was actually a close ally of Musk. He was a name nominated by Trump for NASA leadership. However, Trump, whose relations with Musk had deteriorated, had withdrawn Isaacman's candidacy. Moreover, Trump's comment about Isaacman being completely a Democrat revealed the political calculations behind this decision. Isaacman's presence at Trump's dinner showed that Trump was softening his previous rigid stance and displaying a more flexible approach towards figures in Musk's circle. This had two meanings. First, it could be an indirect peace signal to Musk. Second, it could be a desire to isolate Musk by getting close to figures around him. Musk's recent posts on the X platform were also noteworthy. After his harsh criticisms in July, he was displaying a more moderate approach towards the Trump administration. He had responded to White House communications advisor Margot Martin's post with fire and laughing emojis. This change showed that Musk didn't want to completely sever relations. However, at the same time, it was also a sign that he was seeking rapprochement on his own terms. And the real question that should be asked was, can the world's richest man change America's political system? Or would he too melt away within the system? Musk's interference in Wisconsin Supreme Court elections had backfired. In 2026, an economic crisis and increased dissatisfaction from both parties could also open the way for Musk. There's little time left until the 2026 elections. It's known that Elon Musk's America Party is preparing. Republicans are in panic, and Democrats are excitedly awaiting developments. The coming months will show how effective Musk's strategy will be. Will Musk's $350 billion fortune and business empire ensure success in politics or compensate for failure? Or will the bipolar structure of the American political system once again witness a failed attempt in American political history? The answers to these questions will determine not only Musk's fate, but also the future of American politics. Perhaps the most expensive game in history is about to begin. Musk's non-attendance at the White House dinner was the first strategic step he took for the 2026 elections. This decision meant neither completely burning bridges with Trump nor unconditional surrender. This was completely the first sign of Musk's determination to do politics on his own terms. The results of the 2026 elections will change history.